Now will we see the magic?
All right, where's Murray? Okay, who is it?
This is Jesus, kid.
Know then that it is the year 10,191.
Yes, we are bored. We're all bored now.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Hello, and welcome to Mary versus the Movies with your host, Mary Jones.
And Dennis Ling.
And Dennis is very excited because he has headphones now.
I can hear.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you had a couple of tin cans you would put on your head, but there was nothing coming out of those little speakers.
They worked.
Dennis.
They wiggled a bit.
Yeah. That's about it, though.
Yeah.
So, welcome to episode, what is it, 66? 67. Yes. Okay, sorry.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So, it's summer. What's the most summertime sport there is?
Squash.
Squash? I'm not even sure what squash is.
I'm not even sure either.
Good. You know what? I feel better now. No, tonight we are watching
Water polo.
Water polo, sure. I mean, you could have at least said like the Olympics. Squash.
Jamaican bobsled team.
Yeah. Because tonight's movie, apparently I'm the only person I know who hasn't seen this. Well, at least amongst a certain coterie of friends. The 1989 sports comedy Major League,
Yay.
which Dennis loves, apparently.
Well, I like it.
You greatly enjoy it. Love is a strong term.
Yeah, love is definitely strong for this movie. I don't think anyone could love this movie.
Wait, what are you setting me up on then?
It's serviceable.
Sir, oh God. You're really selling me here. Yeah, I'm in for 2 hours of what, groaning?
It's no Hoosiers.
Oh God. Well, I should hope not. I know it's a comedy about baseball. I don't know what kind of a comedy it is. Now, when I say that, here's what I mean. I was surprised to find out that this movie came out in 1989 because I just assumed it was a 90s comedy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but 89 is kind of 90-ish.
Well, it is. Yes. You know, I mean, you're in that gray zone of
and plus,
culture.
It would be on cable by the 90s.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
And it just played all the time. So.
Oh no, it played constantly, but I never watched it because I'm not really a Charlie Sheen person.
I was kind of worn down. Like it was playing all the time, and I don't know. Eventually watched it and kept watching it and rewatched it.
That's kind of how I got into the movie PCU, actually.
See, I haven't seen that. Is that like an Air Bud universe one?
What? No. Wait a minute. Hold on. Although, man, that would have been an interesting crossover. No, PCU was this comedy in like the mid to late 90s, I guess, about kind of making fun of like political correctness on campus.
Ah.
But it, from what I remember of the movie, like it's more of the kind of, you know, I don't think it was as sour an attitude as somebody would be making it today. Anyway, like I'm not here to defend.
It wouldn't be an anti-woke movie.
Not really. It would be. It was closer to like South Park, but without the moralizing that South Park has a weird sort of libertarian moralizing in it. And this was.
They always had that speech at the end.
But and the only reason I bring that up is, you know, so Major League is the kind of comedy that would play on cable all the time in the 90s. And it doesn't feel like the kind of comedies that existed in the 80s. And I don't know what the difference exactly is, why it feels like something later, but it does feel closer to something like a PCU. And I feel like there's something about 80s comedies are either like your John Hughes, upper middle class, I don't want to call them comedy of manners, but in a way they are.
Right.
Or you have your Zucker brothers, a million jokes thrown at the wall, gross out sometimes. Do you know where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
This feels closer to like a Zucker Brothers thing probably, but not. I don't know what this movie's going to be like. But so it's about baseball, right?
Yeah.
I assume it focuses on more than Charlie Sheen. I hope it focuses on more than Charlie Sheen. I don't know if I can watch 2 hours of just Charlie Sheen.
I'll say it's not 2 hours of Charlie Sheen.
Thank God. Well, okay, I know Bob Uecker's in it. I mean, I know Uecker was a baseball player.
Yeah, I think Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, I knew him as a kid because I watched a lot of Mr. Belvedere.
Oh, was he in that?
Oh my God, was he in it? Yes, he was one of the stars.
You know what? I totally blocked that out.
Yeah. No, he was the dad of the family that, Mr. Belvedere comes to, I don't know, help or whatever. I said recently on Twitter, I grew up watching a lot of garbage.
Yeah.
I don't regret any of it. And I still watch a lot of garbage, but Mr. Belvedere was definitely some of the garbage that I watched all the time.
I just remember him from commercials.
Well, yeah, he did a lot of those. Yeah.
I must be in the front row. That one.
I don't know who else is in this movie, though. I assume this is focused on an entire baseball team?
Yes.
Is this going to be kind of like an adult Bad News Bears? Which, by the way, is another movie that I've never actually sat and watched. So are we going to get I just finished the first season of Ted Lasso. So are we going to get here's a whole bunch of different players? Will they all have personalities?
Probably. I don't know.
You don't know?
Well, I can't say.
No.
What kind of team do you think it's about?
Obviously, there has to be some sort of conflict. So either they were a good team who's fallen out of favor and they're trying to build a better team, or they're a team that hits the skids. And is it about the season where they save themselves and come together as a team? Or yeah, I mean, so there's got to be some sort of reason that we're watching a movie about this baseball team. And I think Charlie Sheen is the pitcher. Why do I think he's on a mound?
Okay,
I feel like he's on a mound. And why am I describing this like I'm trying to do remote viewing? Oh, maybe he's a pitcher who's in a slump.
Okay.
Because that's a thing.
Yeah.
That's definitely a thing.
Slumpy.
What's causing this? Oh, wait, am I confusing it with Bull Durham? Shoot. Now, there's a movie I've also not seen.
Yeah,
I
want to see that. Anyway, so you mentioned Ted Lasso.
Yes.
The setup of Ted Lasso, the first episode, is sort of like this movie.
Oh, so my goodness, they get a new coach, a new manager.
A little bit.
Oh.
Maybe.
Why are you giving away...
No, I'm just saying that there's some parallels.
Okay, you're giving away too much.
I don't think I am.
Now I'm really wondering if you don't think you've given away anything by saying basically it's Ted Lasso. Now I'm curious. Well, okay. So here's the thing. However, the whole thing with Ted Lasso is it's all built around kind of people trying to be decent.
Oh, it's not Ted Lasso.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. But I feel like this is the opposite of that. I have a feeling like this is more like people being terrible to each other, which is more what I expect from sports. I did play softball as a kid.
All right, let's go watch the movie.
So, should we go watch the movie?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so, I mean, it's kind of Ted Lasso. Right down to, this was not as wacky as I was expecting.
Yeah.
And there was a lot more, I mean, I wouldn't call it sentimentality. I'm actually kind of surprised that, I thought you were kidding a bit when you said that, and no, this is exactly what the opening premise.
But but I didn't really spoil anything because you find that out right away.
Exactly. No. That's not an issue at all.
Yeah.
Before we started recording, I said, I don't know. This feels like it's probably more of a '90s movie. No, it's not. It's not. It's definitely not. It is definitely of the '80s. It's actually a little less silly or obvious than a movie made in the '90s might be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is exactly.
Well, I don't think there's any comedians in it.
No, there really isn't, actually, now that you say that, because
Bob Uecker is probably the closest thing to a comedian.
You're right. Oh, my goodness. I don't know if that helps exactly, but it doesn't hurt the movie.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not broad, but it's definitely not, I went into this expecting something closer to, Naked Gun, but for baseball. No, I'm serious. I was thinking it was going to be something along those lines, and this is much more. Hey, this is an adult drama on the crude side, but definitely not made for. It's not just like joke.
What was that movie we saw? Not movie. It was a documentary about the minor league team and
Oh yeah,
that had Kurt Russell in it.
that was a documentary from 2014 called "The Battered Bastards of Baseball,"
Yeah.
and this is closer to that
Yeah.
than something like Naked Gun, I guess.
Especially that all the humor basically just comes from baseball.
Yeah,
Like it's all baseball stories and that's it.
and the thing is, like, this is a very baseball movie.
Yeah.
I don't know, like a month ago, I was going through and watching old musicals on the HBO Max because like the TCM curated type stuff. Yeah. And they had Take Me Out to the Ball Game, the Gene Kelly, Frank Sinatra musical from the 40s. This is so much more actual baseball. And I realize, I'm comparing it to a musical, but it just struck me as how, like, there's a moment in this movie where Tom Berenger's character is in the stadium and he is imagining hitting a ball. And I guess it's supposed to be a home run. He's just kind of running through the play in his head and imagining the crowds and everything. And I just sat there and went, God, I love baseball.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a sincere like moment of like, if I was in his shoes at that moment, I'd be doing the exact same thing. Because I do. I'm not a person who can understand statistics and hold a bunch of numbers in my head. Although I understand what like a good ERA, I understand what these things are. But I get like an emotional charge out of something like baseball.
Yeah.
And it's weird how like watching this, there were times I actually got very excited. Like I didn't know how this movie was going to end. Because like on the one hand, obviously they're going to win and whatever. Like, this is not the type of movie where you're going, like the bad guys are going to win. I get it. But I still had that moment where I was just like, oh my God, is he gonna do it?
And then you argued against it at the end.
Well, because here's the thing: if you look at that, I'm sure if you slowed down the tape, there is no way that he had not touched Willie Mays Hayes.
Now, we didn't see every angle of that,
Look,
so we don't know if
there's a
the
reason
glove
we
could have
have
been high.
There's a reason we have the replay now. I just think if you did a replay from a different angle,
They did not have replay back in the '89.
I know they didn't.
Yeah.
No,
he's safe.
So I actually liked this movie. Actually, I found kind of interesting the opening of this movie. Told me right away that this is not the kind of movie I thought it was going to be. It's basically just vignettes of the city of Cleveland set to a Randy Newman song.
Burn On.
Burn On. Obviously, because the Cuyahoga River famously caught fire. I guess the people who made this movie aren't REM fans, but that's, friend of the show, Dan Wade, has a podcast about Randy Newman called The Wheel of Randy that you should all check out, and which I've actually been on. But if you are just at all intrigued by Randy Newman, you should definitely go check out that podcast.
He's a deep singer.
Yeah.
Got a deep bench.
Yeah. Well, yes. God, you're really. I'll give you this. You are coming up with them on the fly.
It's baseball, man.
It sure is. No, but I thought it was kind of funny. Like it's like the film starts. And I'm just like, wait, is that Randy Newman? And lo and behold, of course, it is. But I kind of found interesting that the movie starts with that sort of. We're setting this in a very definite place. We want to like kind of show this is supposed to be Cleveland, and even though a lot of the movie was made over in Milwaukee, we want this to actually kind of like be set in a place. But I liked the opening montage. I like when films start with that sort of thing, sometimes they are great ways to place set, whether you're doing Dog Day Afternoon or Trading Places,
or 9 to 5.
Or 9 to 5. Yeah.
I had the same kind of thing.
So what it's told me is that this was actually a surprisingly more down-to-earth movie than I was expecting, Yeah. And I appreciated that. I thought that was kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the one hand, let's just get out of the way. This film is set in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And until this year, it was the Cleveland Indians. Yeah. Now, that's a problem by itself. It was kind of rough watching this and just seeing all these white people in headdresses and, the constant use of phrases like, TP and tribe. And like, I'm just sitting here and like, this was all very normal. I mean, honest to God, there's a lot of places in this country where that would still be very normal. And people are still angry when you change the names of, I don't know, the football team in Washington. Or in this case, the baseball team in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Honestly, the Cleveland Guardians is not a bad name.
No.
And, the statue or statues that they're named after are the first image in this movie.
Right.
I don't see what the problem is personally, but then, what is a filly?
A horse?
Well, yeah.
Should be.
I mean, Philadelphia's kind of got it easy because we're not, except for the Eagles, we're not named after anything. But yeah, so in watching this, I won't even call the racism dated because it's still kind of everywhere. But it was weird to watch in 2022 and be hyper aware of, oh man, that sucks. This is kind of rough to watch, man. If you can put that aside. And then, man, if you can't, look, it's just a movie. If you hear, oh, yeah, it's got people in, face paint and headdresses, I don't want to see that. Fair enough, man. Other than that, there's, one moment where I'm just kind of like, oh, that's some cringy sexism, too. The whole, we'll call it, the life-size paper doll of the owner of the team where they keep stripping as they win games. On the one hand, I get it. Because she is the villain and she is trying to intentionally tank the team. They have every right to be angry with her. But it's still kind of oh, we're going to have a poster of her and strip the clothes off of her every time we win. There's a... And
apparently the original ending, it was all an act. She was not actually going to...
Yeah. They came up with some sort of ending where it's oh, guys, this was just to motivate you so that, you become a winning team. I'm glad they canned that because that's a terrible, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah, once you get past certain things, plus there's an entire plot in here. It's weird watching this movie because there is a whole subplot. I don't even know if it's a subplot. I guess it's a subplot. Or there's just a secondary plot in this movie focused on Tom Berenger trying to win back his ex-girlfriend. And
it's not great.
It's, yeah, he's just stalking her the whole time. And it's basically, you can get your woman back if you wear her down. And just prove to her that the successful dude that she's going to marry is a drip and you're cool.
And the objection, I guess the only thing that the other players say is, oh, well, that's childish to stalk her like that.
Right, yeah.
It's just it's not that it's worrying.
If Tom Berenger was following me around to my apartment, oh my God, I'd have a restraining order so fast. So it's very weird to watch for a couple of things that they're probably not dated insofar as people will still put this stuff out here, but it feels gross.
There's one thing I have to say to the people of Cleveland. Lock your doors.
Yeah!
Everyone, lock your doors.
Nope.
No one has locked their doors in this entire city, according to this movie. People just walk in everywhere.
Tom Berenger must be a locksmith or something. He's just walking into people's apartments this whole movie. I was just who are you? Why do you think you can do this?
Renee Russo, who is the love interest, she's just oh, here he is again.
Right. I'm sorry. I would have been straight to the kitchen knives. Get out. Yeah, no. That was very...
This is after Platoon. He was pretty scary in Platoon.
See, now I haven't seen Platoon.
Yeah, he's kind of the bad guy.
Oh, shocker.
Yeah.
He doesn't exactly... I realize he's supposed to be our hero and the guy that we're experiencing the film through, but the whole time I'm just no.
Yeah,
nothing but bad vibes.
Is Bull Durham on the list?
It is on the list, yeah.
Because I really want to see it because, I have a thing for early Kevin Costner. But, yeah, he's kind of just devoid of charisma in this movie.
Yeah.
But it feels very baseball-like.
Oh,
though.
no, he feels right.
They all feel like baseball players, really.
Boy, do they ever. And boy, do they look like baseball players of that time period. I was watching this and, there's a whole thing in this film where Charlie Sheen is supposed to be the sex symbol of the team. And, to be fair, Charlie Sheen, when we're introduced to him, he is in prison.
Yeah.
His head is shaved interestingly up the sides and back. Basically, the idea is, I guess he's supposed to be a punk.
It's funny, how punks are dealt with in movies in the 80s. They're just this just vast group of people, kind of like how hippies would be.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's the hippies.
Yeah.
And then 80s movies just treats them as oh, there's the punks. You just don't take them seriously, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know that there's been a real, after that kind of figure, counterculture figure, that we've had. I don't think we have that anymore, do we? They didn't really do that with people who were into grunge or anything. That never took off in that way. Like there was never this, here are these countercultural freaks who can be shorthand for something. That's not a thing.
It's not like there's one group that everyone can join to be counterculture.
Well, not only that, but I just don't know that we have a mainstream culture in the way that you had people to counter it.
Yeah, that's true.
I think things have kind of atomized to a degree that there's no such thing as a punk in the way that there was in the 80s, because who are you rebelling against? Like nothing. CEOs wear hoodies now.
Yeah.
So what can you do to stand out? I mean, other than, I guess, put on a suit to go watch the Minions movie. Oh God, what if this is the rebirth of the Teddy Boy?
Oh boy.
You know what? Fine. No, bring it. Seriously. Let there be some sort of weird dress culture. Just something that's different, please. But anyway, where I'm going with this is, so Charlie Sheen is supposed to be, he's like the relief pitcher.
Yeah.
Okay. And he stands out from the rest of the team because he, first of all, just looks younger than a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Because part of the idea is the boss the owner of the team has recruited all these guys who are washed up, about to retire, or basically nobody who is at the top of their game, or they're just unknowns. So you have a lot of these older guys who are lumbering around on the field. And then you have Charlie Sheen, who's just gone out of prison. In fact, he's still in prison when we meet him. But so he shows up, and because he's young, and honestly, I think the reason he takes off as a sex symbol in the movie is because he's the only white guy who doesn't have a mullet. There's a bit in here where Charlie Sheen's character, they realize he can't see without glasses. He doesn't realize it, and that's part of why his pitching is so off. So they get him glasses. The thing is, again, he's supposed to be the sex symbol in all of this, but once you put a baseball cap on him and put those glasses on him, he looks like the character Gavin from The Kids in the Hall, which is least sexy thing in the world. He's the only one who doesn't look haggard. Well, basically him and Wesley Snipes. They're the only ones that don't look like they're about to retire.
And Serrano.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Dennis Haysbert's character, Pedro Serrano.
Yeah.
Boy, there's a.
Yeah.
Oh, how do we unpack that?
He feels like a 1950s character. He defected from Cuba for religious freedom.
First of all, it wouldn't be really voodoo in Cuba. It would be anyway. I'm not going to get into that. But the thing is, so here's the thing though: if he is supposed to be a practitioner of voodoo or some version of that, he'd be dressing all in white, not all in black.
Yeah.
So that's strike one. Strike two. This is not a film that. Oh my gosh! I didn't even realize I was using a baseball metaphor.
Keep it up.
No, strike two. They're totally. Let's just say they're not very sensitive to religions that are not Christianity in this movie. I think that's the kindest way to put it. And strike three, this accent.
That's a foul ball.
What?
Sorry, I just wanted to get more baseball talk in.
Yeah, the whole voodoo thing is
unfortunate.
Unfortunate, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'll put it this way. When we watched Angel Heart, people who practice this type of spirituality were just devil worshippers, and here it's more like those gods might be real and they do help him win baseball. So it could be worse.
Yeah.
But it is sort of played for laughs. But at the same time, his rival Harris, he's he, I guess, comes across as a born-again Christian, and so he's kind of mocked in this too. So I guess I'll give him that. In that,
it seems like every joke is trying to make fun of some story from baseball. Everything seems to have some source in some famous baseball story.
But I think that also is kind of why it works and why a lot of this stuff doesn't feel forced.
Right.
It's why it's actually very funny in a lot of places, and it wasn't the wacky comedy I was expecting. And as you said, a lot of there's all sorts of bits in here where these characters are all vaguely based on real baseball players. There are incidents in here that are based on real stories, and I think that's why the movie works.
Which you could also say with
Spinal Tap?
No, the other girls' baseball.
Oh,
movie.
A League of Their Own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Where
Actually, this is
that was-
closer to something like A League of Their Own.
Yeah.
Than anything else. It's funny you say that. I was because my brain was trying to search for like what is this movie kind of like, and yeah, it's definitely like a more R-rated guy version of A League of Their Own, because it is very much about how there is a love of the game in this. There does try to be, I don't want to say adult emotions, but like the whole subplot of him trying to get back with his ex-girlfriend. Yeah, it's deeply problematic,
Yeah.
but I think if it was just a wacky comedy, you wouldn't have that going on. Oh, should we talk about Bob Uecker?
Yeah.
Since we're talking about real, like things that are realistic.
Yeah.
God, he's perfect, isn't he?
He's great.
Oh my God. So he was the Brewers announcer.
Yeah, and it was like filmed in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So like, why not just make it Milwaukee? But
Yeah, I know. Well, or why not just film it in Cleveland then?
Yeah.
So it is weird that they split the filming between Milwaukee and Cleveland.
Well, I'm sure it's all about tax breaks.
Everything is. So Uecker is great in this. I mean, he really, you know what? He's great. I mean, he's so natural at it. Like, and it's not just because he was an announcer. But although apparently, he did improvise a few things in here, including, I guess, the one line that everybody, remembered from the commercial,
Yeah. But also, like, I loved when he's asked the Keller guy something, and the guy's like, "Do you have anything to add?" He's like, "Nope," and he's like, "That's why you're the best color guy in baseball."
Yeah, it was great just listening to him doing the baseball announcing, and it really brought me back to like just sitting and listening to the Phillies or something. There's something very natural about the way he does all of this, and he's just, I don't know, he's just perfect in this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess what I like about this movie is that it definitely feels like baseball.
Good and bad, like it.
Oh, yeah.
Like the sexism, like
The racism.
Yeah. Everything.
It's
like,
all there.
That's baseball is in this movie.
What I found interesting is this one's rated R. And I mean, it is, for language alone, it's definitely an R.
There's barely a line that doesn't have a curse word in it.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm watching this and like, look, off air, I swear all the time.
What? Huh. I guess under your breath.
Uh-huh. So like, it's not that I pay attention to swearing per se, but when you watch a lot of films from the 80s, it's unusual to have a comedy use the F word this frequently. They would drop it occasionally, but
I remember reading something about like an 1880s game that
no.
was filled with like curses.
oh, I remember it was like it was like in an issue of like Harper's or something like 10 years ago. I may even still have the magazine sitting around, but no, entirely authentic to how ball players talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, I think there's a weird authenticity to a lot of the things about this movie, including like all of the swearing.
Yeah.
I think that's dead on, but I was kind of surprised by the amount of it, and I don't know why. I just feel like that feels like something that would come along a couple years later. It felt funny because a lot of the films that we've watched, the comedies don't have the amount of swearing that is in this.
Right.
But as you say, yeah, that fits baseball. I mean,
Yeah.
we are the city of Chase Utley.
We are.
Yeah.
We are also the city of Mitch Williams,
Yeah.
who named himself the Wild Thing after
This
Charlie
movie.
Sheen.
Yeah.
He was a Chicago Cub at the time. He's a reliever, and he made his number 99. So he kind of played that up, and then in 1993 he was with the Phillies.
Yep.
And we made it to the World Series.
Yep.
And he blew it.
Yep. He sure did.
And for many years, his name was Mud in this town. But then he came back as an announcer, and it was all was forgiven because we're a bunch of softies. all this talk about batteries and Santa Claus and how bad we are as fans, like,
We're pussycats.
We're a bunch of.
Come on. Even Mike Schmidt came back to us.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the other thing I was thinking about was how every guy in this has a mullet and just looks. All I could think about was the '93 Phillies.
Oh yeah.
And
you know what? Tom Berenger kind of looked like Dutch Dalton.
Yeah, he does.
Like Darren Dalton. Like he's kind of good looking, and you're like, oh, he seems like a kind of like a cool guy, and then yeah, he's crazy.
Yes. Absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, he's a total wacko. But all those guys were. Oh man, Danny Jackson. So there was this amazing radio show. It was all Dutch Dalton, Darren Dalton giving stories about the 93 team. And Danny Jackson was a pitcher, and once before a game, he got so psyched for a game, he headbutted the bus and was bleeding. I know. It's
See, now that sounds like something that I'm surprised they would not be in this movie, except that it hadn't happened yet.
I know. But then Darren Dalton went on to play with the Marlins.
Yes. Oh.
The team that, so the whole plot behind this movie was that the woman was trying to move the team to Florida. And apparently this was a thing. A lot of teams wanted to move to Florida.
Yeah.
I guess the Twins at some point were thinking of moving.
Well, the origin of this movie is something that actually happened to the Twins in 1970. Where the owner of the team decided to intentionally tank the team so that he could get out of some sort of clause and move the whole team to Florida. And it didn't work. Somebody in Minneapolis, I guess, went and bought him out instead so that the team didn't leave. And, eventually... I guess after this movie.
But the team did suck, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The sucking part worked. It's just that the moving part didn't.
Hey, I thought we're supposed to trust the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. The basis of this movie actually is inspired by a real thing, much like all of these little anecdotes. Eventually, there was another expansion, and that's how you end up with the Marlins. And how many people go to Marlins games?
Oh, not many.
Dozens?
But where are you going to move to?
Yeah. At some point, the sea is just going to swallow up their stadium, and good riddance.
So anyway, in 97, the Indians made it to the World Series, lost to the Marlins.
Oh, man.
Including Darren Dalton.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so... And he was definitely at his washed up Tom Berenger phase at the time. But he pulled it out.
Knees that sound like a bag of marbles.
Yeah.
Well, the one weird thing in this movie is it's obviously kind of joking about how athletes are not very good at being celebrity endorsers. They don't always read very naturally. Basically, the American Express commercial.
Oh, that was terrible.
That was so weird. On the one hand, I get what they're doing because anybody who is set through a local ad, and whoever your local sports celebrity is endorsing, I don't know, Wawa or something, which I seem to remember Ryan Howard being the closest to actually being able to emote of any of the Phillies. Yeah, I just remember
Shane Victorino.
That was no.
He was okay.
No, he wasn't. No, we love Shane Victorino.
We do.
But he could not read copy.
A little bit.
Look, I'm not saying he couldn't read words. I'm just saying he can't read copy. My point being, in the movie, there is basically a joke about this where the whole team is, trying to do that. But at the same time, we basically end up seeing through an actual American Express commercial, and it's very weird.
And the thing is, it's not bad enough.
Right.
It's not forced and weird enough. It should have been worse.
It should have been more awkward.
Yeah.
And so it just felt like you had this kind of weird product placement in the middle of the movie. In a film that doesn't have a lot of obvious product placements. I mean, yeah, you can see a lot of Miller Lite billboards and stuff, which is whatever. But yeah, it just felt weird and off. It was almost to the point of that gag in Wayne's World, but without the self-awareness.
Yeah, that's the thing. It should have been more,
Yeah.
or less, or anything.
Anything.
It was just awkward, and it just felt kind of shoehorned in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I take back this movie.
So that was Major League, starring Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, Wesley Snipes, Corbin Burnson, who plays a real
Yeah.
You hate him. I've never seen him play anybody likable anyway, so that's fine.
He was good at what he was.
Yes, he was. Rene Russo and Dennis Haysbert and Bob Uecker and a bunch of other people, I guess.
Yeah.
And directed by...
And maybe janitor?
oh, that's right.
Do we know
Neil
if that's
Flynn.
Neil Flynn?
It is definitely Neil
okay,
Flynn.
Great.
Yeah, there is... It's just a couple of bit parts, a guy in a hard hat, and it's Neil Flynn, who is janitor from Scrubs. And it was on, like, the middle and
The guy who got shot in...
That's right, he gets shot in The
In The
Fugitive.
Fugitive,
He's the transit cop.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it was written and directed by David S. Ward, who I think was mostly a screenwriter, but he did direct a few films, including this and King Ralph.
Right. So he started off, he sold a screenplay for The Sting. And so he was like a hot commodity for a while in the 70s. And then he did The Sting 2 in Cannery Row, and his career kind of went south. So he was trying to do some kind of Western at a time when Heaven's Gate came out.
Oh.
So Westerns were banned. So like he was kind of on the outs for a while. And then he did Milagro Beanfield War with Robert Redford from The Sting, and that kind of brought him back. And so then he got enough money to do this, which was his passion project because he was from Cleveland.
Ah, okay.
And he said this was the only way he could get the Indians to actually win anything.
And you know what? He's still right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Cleveland. Well, you can follow us on social media. We are Mary vs. Movies on Twitter, and we are maryvsmovies@gmail.com. Please write to us with any comments, questions, complaints, or suggestions. We would love to hear from you. We are available on Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and review us, and we would really appreciate that. You can find us on Stitcher and Spotify and Google Play, and you can always go to the Libsyn website and get our RSS feed and plug it into whatever your podcatcher of choice is. Next week, because I couldn't find One Crazy Summer, I am not signing up for Stars.
Right.
I'm sorry. So unless somebody can get me a copy of One Crazy Summer, you can flip between Hollywood Shuffle or The River's Edge.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which I was told to watch before I go and read John Darnielle's new book. So, Heads is Hollywood Shuffle, Tails is The River's Edge.
All right. Heads. And I caught it. It was a basket catch.
You did catch it in the basket. I was very impressed. So Heads means next week we will be watching Robert Townsend's showbiz satire Hollywood Shuffle. I'm looking forward to that.
Right on.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. So, until next time.
Just a bit outside.